We need to do an episode about Windows 11 and how like Windows 10 was supposed to be the last Windows, and then now Windows 11
It's so funny.
was supposed to be the last Windows. But I don't.
Did they say that about 11 though?
Suggestions.
Yeah,
what I
so
don't
they said it about 10. I don't know if they said
They
it about
didn't
11.
outright say it about 11. They did outright say it with 10
Yes,
like
they
before
did.
it released, but I've never heard that comment.
What
about
I don't
11.
understand is why we're doing these, not necessarily breaking changes, but we're dropping support for devices and not incrementing the Windows number. It's like it's Windows 11, 24H2. But the average Joe is not going to understand what the 24H2 has any business doing.
Not
They just
that
know
too,
that,
I don't
oh, well,
really
I can't update Windows anymore. Like, what's up with this?
Well, part of that too is and this is where I'm going to. I appreciate that in this case that you are on the side of the normie and that you are protecting the interest
Yeah.
of the layman person. But I'm going to take the opposite approach, and I'm going to say they can get the hell over it, and it doesn't really matter because this all truly comes down to security concerns and cybersecurity issues. And if we didn't have poopy-headed people in the world that wanted to steal everyone's data and make money off of everybody and are causing constant cybersecurity issues, we wouldn't have to worry about this.
What if I
This
want
wouldn't
my
be a
data
thing.
stolen
So if
and
you
I
wanna
want to run
blame
the
somebody,
latest version of
no,
Windows?
if you want to blame somebody,
This is a free
blame
country.
hackers and blame con people who are trying to take advantage of others. It's their fault that you and everyone has to deal with this whole version, all of this.
Not
this
me
all
in
wouldn't
particular.
be a
I'm talking
thing.
about the Windows normies.
Well, okay, that gets back to my point of it doesn't matter. They don't matter. Their thoughts and opinions and what they prefer doesn't matter. These things have to happen, and the versioning that Windows is doing is, I'm not going to say the most efficient way, but it's kind of the best worst way to do it. It's not. There's not going to be a clean way of doing it for any platform. It doesn't matter.
I say that our first ever short needs to be that rant right there. Like the normies don't matter, but it's coming from Steven. It's not coming from me. It's coming from
I
Steven.
don't know how comfortable I am with that.
That was
were we
beautiful.
even recording?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Nathan had said the button hadn't been pressed yet.
There's multiple buttons that have to be pressed, and the one that typically gets forgotten was forgotten.
It has been a long time since we've had to press that button.
Because it's not really relevant when we do sound checks.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. Dex, I didn't record on that one our last sessions because there was no point.
We don't do sound checks. We just show up and everything is just perfection every single week.
Now it is.
Speaking of
That's
buttons,
not always been the truth.
Speaking of buttons, I think we probably need to hit another button.
Well, no,
I want to press your button some more. Okay, so this season, can we talk during the intro?
Welcome to the Hostility Morning Show. I am your host, John, joined here today by
Nathan.
Ian.
Steven.
Matthew.
C. Matthew. I wanted to start Season 2 officially off on a chill note because this year, 2025, is going to be extremely chaotic and it's going to be terrible. So we need to enjoy the peace and quiet while we can.
What peace and quiet?
So let's all take a moment, enjoy your peace and quiet.
Insert action trailer here.
Ian, peace and quiet.
Explosion.
That was nice, wasn't it?
I'm enjoying this mythical peace and quiet that you speak of.
Anyway, we should get into it because we're going to do the one thing that in technology we never like to do. We're going to take a look back at our successes, our failures, and specifically, we're going to look back at a time that Steven actually had some hope in his eyes.
Oh, that was left way before last year. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but the note said here below our look back categories, and the number one just says review Steven's Facebook.
What?
Yeah, it says right there. It says it. Steven's
Oh.
Facebook review.
I don't think that's not what it says.
That's it, but it does. Right?
I think you may be
You have a
dyslexic,
Facebook?
sir.
That's such a boomer thing to do.
Yeah, but
I have one. I don't use it.
but it sends those memories, right? Like, every day you get a memory of all the crappy things you posted back when you were 15 years old.
Okay, my favorite thing is I had a backup of Morrowind. I think I've talked about this on the podcast before. I had a backup of Morrowind in the in my OneDrive, and so all of the texture files in there would periodically get sent through my memories. So it would just be like this garbled picture of like some dark elf or something. Like, just I need to get a screenshot next time it happens because it is hilarious
Because
when it does.
that tell you the time that I actually cannot play a specific save of Oblivion anymore because I dropped too many Elder Scrolls that I may or may not have spawned in.
Nice,
Like, you load the save and the game immediately crashes to this day.
beautiful.
It's amazing. So Nathan,
Yes.
why don't you actually introduce? Let's since you wrote this out, how should we actually proceed with our look back?
Well, we can go a couple of different ways.
I want to go left.
The assignment was, here are some categories. Provide answers. What those answers are, I know what my answers are. And actually, I'm not sure if it's this one or if it's going to be for the next episode. I'm actually changing one of my answers thanks to something that was sent to me very recently. But the categories will probably start with myself. And
We're not going to review Steven's Facebook. I really think that would be great for a podcast.
that
Actually, no, it wouldn't, because my Facebook abruptly ends roughly. I haven't looked this far back. I haven't looked at it in a long time. Like, scroll down. I'm pretty sure my Facebook abruptly ends about 2012.
Wow.
And no, either 10 or 11, something like that. And like, that's it. Like, there's nothing. There's a few posts from like people who have sent me stuff like happy birthdays in years after that. But as far as just pictures and statuses, like just and things on my Facebook, yeah, there's like a hard cutoff. But I mean, I do not get rid of it because I have an OG Facebook. I got Facebook in 2006. And mine was one of the ones that I was actually invited by somebody who was in college, because that was the only way that you could get Facebook outside of being a college student at the time. So I can't bring myself to get rid of it.
so
Also,
John.
I'm a digital hoarder, so
John, do you
there's
want
that.
to try to start this slightly on the rails or just go completely off rails to start with?
This is Hostility in the Morning. There is no rails. Just send it.
All right, Matthew, what do you have for best software or service of the year 2024?
I'm glad you asked. So I wrote this down as like my favorite, like the thing that I use the most, and that would be SyncThing. I know John absolutely loves this piece of software. This has been a godsend of.
To be fair, I have started using it. I understand it quite a bit more why you like it. I still disagree with how you use it though.
I use it as a recap for all the listeners, and we'll have to put like links to the different episodes that we discussed these, because this was definitely a good one. But this is this is a piece of software that you can use for peer-to-peer syncing between your devices. So in my use case, I have my notes folder. It is synced between my laptop, my desktop, my phone, my tablet, all of my personal devices. I don't have to think about it. Once you set it up, as long as they're all on the same network, it just, all the changes get propagated back and forth. It's super nice. I've had like a handful of sync conflicts that I've had to resolve, but that's usually user error. Like if you open the same file on more than one device, it's going to cause a problem. It's not designed to handle that quite as well. So that's something to
shouldn't.
keep in mind. Do what?
It shouldn't have a problem doing that.
Well, so what it does is it will flag the file, and it will show you there's the original file and a sync conflict file, and then you get to decide which one is the correct one. So you don't lose anything, but you can avoid that by just not opening the same file on more than one device.
Nathan,
So
are we
SyncThing.
are we still planning on doing the thing later this season?
Yes.
Okay, never
Yes.
mind.
So I should also point out that it's not so much, and John, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not so much how Matthew uses SyncThing that wounds Jonathan to the core. It is how he has architected his deployment of it.
That's a very politically correct way of saying
I mean, the
that.
deployment is super easy. You download the client on whatever device it is, and you set it up, and then it's
I
call
said
it a day. Two.
deployment
You
of
can.
it.
There are ways. I've done some research on it too. There are far more robust ways to architect a deployment of it.
To John's point, there isn't really.
My name is being said too much. I need to recuse myself.
I don't know if there's a much better way to do it as far as that goes, because without going into too many other details. But to John's credit, one of his initial complaints was I still need to have some kind of backup outside of the network of synced files. And I do now. I did that like a week or two after we recorded that episode. So I take weekly backups of the folder, and they're stored outside of the. I'm not sure if network is the right word for it, but outside of the sync thing network. So there is something separate.
The
That is
device that the backups are on is not synced within your sync thing.
No.
Thing. Okay.
Okay. So Steven.
Huh?
Your turn.
My turn.
Yes.
best software/service of the year.
Best software/service of the year. You say? Is that in my notes?
Everyone
No.
had access to the same notes.
For an extended period of time.
But you said that we could just pick things within those. You didn't say that we had to have something for each one of those points.
That's not what
Originally,
I meant.
that's
That
what you
is not
said.
what I meant.
Okay. Said best software of the year.
So and your interpretation of best software, like Matthew's software has existed long before 2024.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So, but that still counts because to him that was the best software. So it doesn't have to have been something created last year. It could be just something that
Something that was meaningful to me
Yes.
last year and performed very well and it was a robust part of my workflow. It's something like that.
that is a valid
Definitely
interpretation.
Microsoft Teams.
Yes.
Obviously Microsoft Teams.
Microsoft Teams, or more specifically Microsoft Teams Dark Mode.
Correct.
You know what my favorite part about that is? As you were describing that, I was thinking, yep, this is definitely Teams.
Realistically though, I mean, I have go-to. I mean, there's obviously like fixed softwares that I use at work a lot. I don't toy around with nearly as much software stuff as Matthew and John do in my personal time.
It's because you value your personal time.
That's a fair point.
It's okay. I
Correct.
just like to cosplay like a system engineer at home. Like it's fine.
But well, and all right, I will. I'll just put it out there. I mean, of the things that I use, even as poorly as I have it set up, as I've recently learned, thanks John for that.
You're welcome.
TrueNAS definitely has been great. Having a not like a centralized NAS appliance, but also a very functional and robust NAS software to run it and do things on and things like that. That's been really nice. Again, my implementation of it is not entirely proper and the best, but it's worked flawlessly. I mean, it's, I just have network shares attached to my devices, and when they, reboot or come back on and my network's up, there's my network shares, and I just do stuff with it. For the time being, I have all of our podcast data that I work with on that NAS, and it's been reliable. I've opened old stuff and not had any corruption and all that kind of thing. So, yeah, it's been great.
Nice. Ian, do you have anything for this particular topic?
Yeah, I've been debating between two, and I think I'm just going to go with one of the apps that I use for downtime is called Royal Road. It's a kind of like a forum for writers, I guess you could put it. You could describe it as. Basically, freelance writers can go on and upload whole books or individual chapters at a time as they're writing them, and it's all completely free. And a lot of these books end up getting put on something like Kindle later down the road, but you have to pay for it once it's there. I get to access it and read it before everyone else for free.
That's
cool.
That's nice.
Mhm.
All right. So mine was formerly Twitter, now Grok's AI Grok, or formerly Twitter X's AI Grok. Now, this is not just, I'm not saying it's the best AI. I'm not saying it's a terrible AI.
It does perform very well.
I'm not saying X is awesome service. I'm not saying X is a horrible service. Just for me, that was the first AI that I actually took seriously and started playing around with. It's not the only one I played around with last year, but it was the one where I really started trying to figure it out in a useful way. So that's mine. And I'm sure we're going to be touching on AI quite a bit for the next several episodes. So a little teaser there.
Bear with us.
Yep. So I'm sure I'll get into more details on this later.
The
But,
crystal ball has been read.
John, do you have anything for this particular category?
John has too many
You have to
opinions and
pick
can't pick
one.
one.
I was gonna say there's quite a few I can name. Like TrueNAS is one of the things that have really kind of overhauled my setup, that to the point where I have 3 TrueNAS servers just running in my environment now. But that's not the one that I really want to highlight on this, because I do a lot of technical administration at work and on my personal time. But the one thing that I think I have used the most and enjoyed the most is a little software called Jellyfin. Having a centralized hub for not only just my movies and TV shows, but it does my music videos, audiobooks, soundtracks, everything. It's everything that I enjoy to consume just from my couch. It's all right there. It's very convenient. It's robust enough that I feel it is a great alternative to Plex, that you're not having to pay a subscription or a lifetime pass to use some what I think are essential features that, in my opinion, shouldn't be paywalled. But it has been kind of the biggest life change that I've implemented in the home setup, that I feel has benefited at least, you know, my day to day the most.
I have a Plex server, and I have it because I was forced into it by the little home NAS that I have from Synology, because it's not Jellyfin isn't compatible with it. But I have recently learned that my poor little server literally isn't strong enough to handle some of the encoding that some movies are capable of, or have. So I'm probably going to be repurposing my old desktop and putting Jellyfin on it soon.
It's a
Very
good
nice.
plan.
That's probably a significant portion of all Jellyfin
it.
deployments.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Category 2, biggest tech news story of the year. Let's see. Steven, go.
Can I go first?
Yes.
I have something for this.
I swear to God, if you steal mine.
Cloudflare.
Okay. Pause. Who else had Cloudflare?
I specifically picked something different because I knew that somebody else would pick it.
Okay, cool.
I was the only one,
Yeah, mine.
Dang.
No, mine
Okay, go.
wasn't.
and I picked Cloudflare.
That'd be really funny if
because,
everybody didn't pick Cloudflare.
just because of its
Wide reaching.
it's global impact. I mean, obviously, like it did impact things like travel and some public services, quite a bit, quite drastically. But ultimately, the fix for it was very tedious, but it was very straightforward. It was nothing, from the IT standpoint, it's nothing overly complex or anything like that. It's something that most seasoned IT professionals would have been very familiar with, like they've done it before, or something along the lines of that. So, I wouldn't call it, super impactful, like it took services down for weeks or months, or it was this worldy. But it was I believe it's one of the first cyber security events. Cybersecurity, one of the widest reaching and noticeable to the public and obvious to the public events like that we've ever seen. And I think even if people didn't understand it, still don't understand it, don't care anymore, whatever, it opened a lot of normal people's eyes to what things like that can do. And
How
so, yeah.
fragile they are.
Exactly. Yes. So, yeah. So that was my pick.
All right.
I'll go next.
Go for it.
Google being labeled as a partial monopoly, to the point that they are getting broken up, having to sell Chrome, potentially sell YouTube. I haven't seen anything 100% on that, but that's huge.
It is.
Is that
Because
still?
that's been a Goliath of a tech company for quite a while now,
hmm
taking up more and more of different spaces. So yeah, that's
Yeah, and what we found out from this, or I guess what came to light that some people already knew about, um, was that they weren't forcing people to use their service, but they were basically forcing people to use their service.
they're definitely cornering people into
Mhm.
a position of having to use their service.
Yeah,
Is that still going through courts and stuff?
Yeah.
yeah.
There's still, it's not in full litigation, but it's definitely the case is still ongoing as of right now for how they're trying to navigate and prove what entities in Google can still remain together, which ones need to be broken off, things of that nature. Just trying to,
Chrome is gone.
yeah, they have to evaluate all the assets that
hmm
Google and ABC own.
Yeah, that
Like Chrome
Sorry,
being
not
sold
ABC,
off
Alphabet.
alone is
Right.
huge.
close enough. What was that?
Chrome being sold off alone is huge. I
Yeah.
remember there were some rumblings that either the Linux Foundation or the Free Desktop Foundation might take it on. I think it's the Linux Foundation, which would be incredible since Chromium browsers are the biggest
Mhm.
market share. Having that under a free and open source banner would be massive. So instead of all of the most of the resources being poured into Google Chrome, some of those resources could be pulled back into the Chromium side of things, the open source project.
Who runs Mozilla? I can't remember.
Who runs Mozilla?
Yeah,
Mozilla.
it's just Mozilla.
Mozilla
company.
is the parent
They-
company.
Okay,
As far as I understand it, yes.
I was thinking that there was a.
Mozilla owns Firefox.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
I was thinking that they had a big Linux backer. So I was thinking maybe that they. I guess what I was thinking was maybe Chrome and Mozilla would merge if that was the case, but it sounds like it's not.
I would be shocked at that because those are two very different. My understanding is
They're different engines.
Those are two very different engines.
Mm.
It's that way on purpose.
Yeah. Okay. John.
I think the most entertaining one that I felt shook up the market the most was the CrowdStrike incident. CrowdStrike
Agreed.
really kind of brought a lot of the practices of what these EDRs really do against the machine and kind of, well, what's even?
I said the wrong thing.
Oh, that's okay.
I meant CrowdStrike. But I mean, Cloudflare had plenty of
There
Yeah,
were like
boo-boos
there,
as well.
there were
three
plenty of
issues.
boo-boos there, but no,
Okay. So
CrowdStrike-
everyone take all of my comments as referring to the CrowdStrike outage.
I didn't
but
even catch that.
nonetheless,
That's
Cloudflare
funny.
also had some big
Yeah.
things.
No, yeah, it's just that CrowdStrike incident really kind of brought a lot of the cybersecurity forethought to the front and going, here's the wider implication that if you're going to adopt these type of software solutions into multiple different types of infrastructures, here's what can happen if you're not following any level of best practice. If you're just following what is the easiest path to manage it or push out changes, things of that nature, that right there is the best example of going, here's how you shouldn't do something like this, and really kind of shine a light on other products that might be able to do it better and suit the business in a more positive future. And so that's where I hope CrowdStrike learned a lesson from this, but I feel it's more beneficial for everyone that, hey, now you kind of understand why we need to take cybersecurity and programming as a whole much more seriously and stop trying to take the easy way out of going what's most convenient or what is the easiest way to just to quote solve a problem.
And I would argue that probably the vast majority of just people who were affected by that probably didn't glean all of that information from it, realistically, but it at least gave it opened the vast majority of people's eyes to, at the very least, you know, oh, there are things out there like a security solution that that tons and tons and tons of really important things use, like, not a monopoly, but just like, oh, a ton of organizations, a ton of things, all used this one software, and this one software broke. Therefore, all of those things broke, and that affected a ton of people. And so I think
Billions.
it probably. I want to hope that at least those people, they may not have gleaned as much information as John just provided, but at least like, oh gosh, if something actually bad happened, like an attacker actually did something, if somebody hacked a certain, that type of organization, not just an airport itself or a water company or electric company or whatever, but if somebody hacked a company who had software at all of those things, um, it would cause this but worse. I hope that's the thing that I hope that that most people that were affected by it got from that situation. And,
Agreed.
And just and
Yeah. It's that
some took it to
it's
heart.
that mentality of you really shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
And like if you're just going with a product because everyone else is using it because it's quote unquote great, that is not always the best solution. It's just kind of understanding just because something is good for them doesn't mean it's good for you.
If only Apple users would think that way.
Huh? Steven, if Apple users could read, they'd be very angry right now.
So Matthew,
Mine's slightly different. I think it is related to tech as in the industry, not tech specifically, but the Dell mandate to return to office for all of their employees. I think that was a huge shift last year, and I'm interested to see how that continues to play out. But since the genie's out of the bottle after 2020 and remote work is possible, and not just possible, but plausible in the vast majority of cases, I thought that was kind of a interesting way to go as far as Dell went.
that was a trend we definitely saw, certainly at the latter half of 2024. And I do agree, it's going to be interesting to see how that continues. I do expect to see that continuing through part of 2025. You're going to have a leveling out of that,
Yeah.
at some point. So that's going to be very interesting. Mine was also CrowdStrike. Already touched on that. So Ian, do you have anything for most disappointing tech change of the year?
Yes. Salesforce buying Tableau. This was technically a 2023 purchase, but we really started seeing the effects of it in 2024. And just nothing good has come from it. The software has gotten slower and slightly more bloated, and there have been some additional functionality improvements that have further broken the use cases for Tableau. And not only that, but they've increased the pricing for it, which is gonna push a lot of people away, and already has. And we're only trending up in those for further price changes, and they're kind of eating themselves by their own foot.
Interesting. And that's something that most non-data people or most non-big tech people aren't going to really pay that close of attention to.
Mm-hmm.
But that is legitimately one of the biggest drivers of business in general right now, as from like how companies actually do business, how companies especially interact or gain, maintain, keep, etc. clients. That is a vital part of that particular tech stack right now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, because we got to be data driven. Everything is data driven.
Yes, it is. And you should, but then you should also use common sense and remember that humans are human.
All right, so I'll go with mine. Overuse of AI before it's ready. Basically, all the marketing departments got a hold of AI and ran with it before most were ready for it.
My favorite part about that is whenever you see like a slide deck or an ad that was obviously used, or AI was obviously used with it because it's got some really bad spelling error or just something just not right with it. And you're just like, yeah, You did not QC that.
So Stephen, why don't you go ahead? What was your commentary on it?
Pretty much the same. That AI really came into its own over 2024. It breached that threshold of of being not just a novelty thing that exists. That you could get an open source. You could be like John and get an open source version and tinker with if you're a nerd. But like the masses could really take advantage of because it was offered in a platform that could do so. And as you said so eloquently, the marketing departments got their hands on it and just it within like ChatGPT, again, like becoming the fancy search engine that it is. That was really like what is like February, March 2024,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
early in the year.
Yeah.
And by at the latest June, I would say by summer of 2024, every single website piece of marketing material for everything had our AI integration for our product, or here's all the features of our software, and here's how our AI integrates with that software, and here just spewed out of the seams of marketing. And yeah, it's still very annoying because it's still happening.
So I'm gonna give 2 teasers for future episodes. So let's not dig into this. I think there are dual reasons for why all the marketing was AI. One, I think it shows the laziness and largely unnecessary reason for existence that are most marketing departments.
Agreed.
And 2, on the complete flip side, the near complete lack, or the very least significant lack, of any real innovation in the software space.
Yeah, no, that's actually a really good point.
And
Yeah,
and I
agree.
think both marketing, and so the software people can blast marketing all they want to, and frankly marketing most typically just deserves it, but also the complete lack of anything, or at least among companies that have marketing budgets, the complete lack of actual innovation was on full display. But we will dig into that more in future episodes. Matthew.
So for my most disappointing tech change of the year, I have 2. The first is Microsoft discontinuing the ARM dev kit. So in tandem, they discontinued their 2023 ARM dev kit, and the Snapdragon canceled their Windows dev kit. So that was kind of sad. I was looking forward to maybe getting my hands on one of those. In addition to those cancellations, they introduced this new thing called the Windows 365 Link PC. Has anybody heard of that?
No.
I know Ian has because I was complaining about it on the way here.
Is it
Take a wild guess as what it is.
is it basically just a thin client?
Yes.
It's just a little thin client that you can boot a Windows 365 virtual desktop off of.
That's exactly
wrong
what
with
it
that?
is. That's hot garbage.
Oh,
But and granted, I
It's
am not the
is-
market for this. But
is it a Microsoft hardware product?
yes,
Okay, well there you go.
yes. So that was they discontinued.
I suck at that.
They discontinued 2 things that I thought would maybe change up the tech industry as far as hardware goes, and introduce something that I think all of us would agree is not exactly the direction we want things to go, as far as a always online box that if you don't have an internet connection, you don't have access to your computer.
Which is the dream of Microsoft and Google.
Oh, absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely. But if we look at it, Stadia failed. And was that a 2023 thing or a 2024 thing?
That was 2022, 2023, if I remember correctly.
Because I could lump that in there too. But yeah, Stadia failed. Like each time we've seen some kind of cloud PC, it really hasn't panned out. To Microsoft's credit, they have a much better track record for not canceling stuff than Google does. So whether or not Google cancels something, that may not be the best metric. But I really hope that it fails.
Ian,
I
you?
wish that Google had just sold the Stadia controllers on their own, because they are, in my opinion, the best console controller out there. They had a great weight. They fit my hand well. It just everything felt good.
It's a strong statement, sir.
I stand by it.
You're standing by that in that it supersedes the Xbox 360 controller?
I was waiting for you to say the Duke. I was honestly
Really?
waiting for you
Yeah.
to say the Duke.
And like I got a Stadia because toward the end of life they had this sale just to get people to buy them, where that you could get a 4K Chromecast back when that was a thing,
Wow.
and a Stadia controller for like $10.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. This was like if you had bought everything separate, 120.
I would have bought that, not even to use, just for the
Chromecast
for $10. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I bought it for originally. Was just the Chromecast.
It's like when
it was an $80 Chromecast that I got for $10.
Yeah.
But I still used the controller. After they terminated the Stadia service, they sent a file out that converted from Wi-Fi to Bluetooth.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So it can be used on a PC like the Windows Xbox controller. Okay, sweet.
So they a big tech company actually provided a means for their hardware not to be bricked when the service was over.
Yeah, it was amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like
Gotta give
similar
credit where
to
credit's
what
due.
Valve had done like almost a decade earlier with the Steam Links and the Steam controllers when they discontinued those. I got my Steam Link for $5 because they were just trying to get them out the door. It still works. And then the Steam controller, because there was a lawsuit involving patent infringement or something like that. So they couldn't continue selling them. So I got my Steam controller dirt cheap
Oh,
as
that's how that died. I thought that they discontinued because nobody was buying them.
No, it's because they weren't legally, they weren't allowed to. Now, granted, like I could be messing up some of the details here, but from my understanding, it was because they legally couldn't continue selling it because of the design, a patent infringement somewhere.
So, most disappointing of the year, Ian, was that your submission, or
I thought I started this one off.
did you? Maybe you
You
did.
did.
Yeah,
yeah, he
because
did.
it was Salesforce Tableau.
This is what
That's
you get for
right.
not going around the table
Gosh,
in an organized
producer.
manner.
All right,
Not
have
even
you
paying
gone?
attention.
Have you gone, Steven?
Yeah, because you stole mine.
Cool.
I just weighed in on it.
And I did mine. John, did you do yours?
Yeah, I did mine.
Okay, so that was most disappointing tech change of the year. Most exciting tech change of the year, John.
Y'all are gonna hate me.
We already do.
It's AI.
Damn it! Stop stealing my stuff!
Well, it's because that's been the most. I'm not gonna say fully beneficial, but it's been the most interesting on the development side of seeing something that went from machine learning on the blockchain and all this kind of. You saw all the fundamental building blocks of what we were eventually trying to get to on the AI side, and now that you're seeing that now kind of moving to its next phase, it's been really interesting to witness and play around with and get a better understanding of its inner workings. And I feel, yes, there's going to be an AI bubble eventually that bursts, but this is kind of like our space race at the moment, which is the first to create really that. I'm not going to say like actual like AI where it's
AGI.
cognitive and things of that nature. Yeah, it's not like an Age of Ultron, but it's more of a true proper like information assistant that you can really utilize in your day-to-day operation.
So, Steven, what?
No, skip me.
Okay, Matthew.
Stack Overflow is dead.
Also,
AI killed it.
also.
So if you look at, we can.
This is your
include a link.
most exciting change?
Yes.
I'm disappointed in you. I really like going back and looking at 6-year-old posts that solve my problem. I even had one the other day. It was 14 years old and it solved my problem.
Ironically, that also proves my point earlier as far as there's no innovation right now. But continue, Matthew.
That's the problem, is that Stack Overflow failed to innovate. So now they have a partnership, I think, with OpenAI, so that they are making use of their massive data set. But the problem that holds it back is the snobbish users. So, Steven, if you think Linux users are a problem, the top answers on Stack Overflow would give them a run for their money.
I'm
fair.
roughly familiar with. I haven't frequented Stack Overflow in my career, but I have utilized it as a resource. And yeah, no, I've seen some of those responses.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, this is like super toxic Reddit level
Yeah.
of pretentiousness.
My favorite ones are the ones that the poster literally says, "I'm a computer science student trying to figure this, or just starting out trying to figure this out. I need help with this problem." And then the first comment comes back, "You're a freaking idiot. You should know."
Immediately get destroyed if you do that.
Yeah. Yeah, so AI has pretty much killed it because instead of going to ask Stack Overflow or somebody on Stack Overflow and hope that there's a person out there that is willing to spare some time to help you, you can just ask AI. So like Copilot, for example, I use that on a daily basis, and I have gotten much better answers than Stack Overflow for a whole host of questions that I've had. And typically what that turns into, and I do Google stuff every now and then and wind up on Stack Overflow if I didn't make it very far with Copilot, but that's been rare as time has gone on. So I would agree with John as far as AI being one of the more exciting changes last year, because like love it or hate it, it has shaken up the market, a lot of markets in a lot of different ways, and this is one of them. So as a text aggregator and regurgitator, I think it's great. So instead of having to ask somebody a esoteric question on some tech stack, you can just ask ChatGPT or Copilot or insert your favorite model here, and it can crawl the documentation or whatever and give you an answer.
For now, it's fairly polite and helpful with things, and
But if you-
minorly condescending.
If you want it to be condescending, if you want to maintain that level of experience that you would have gotten
You
with Stack
can make
Overflow,
it do
you can
that.
still ask it to do that.
It's true.
Yeah, but I also recommend Matthew, and your kind of use case and all that. This is something that I do with it all the time because I use Copilot and Chat GPT like on the daily basis. Is I at least vet like its answers that it gives me because I have it help build PowerShell scripts, or when I have an error that I don't really know how to resolve, I dump it into that. But I also say, hey, when you're gonna give me my results, also give me the resources you use to give me that answer. So that way I can see, is the information it's providing useful and like it's proper format and things of that nature, where I can go back, reference it, knowing I know how it works, I know how it operates, the information here is factual and actually going to solve my issue, and it's not just spitting out a generic response that was somewhat related to my question, but it kind of went down the Reddit rabbit hole and just pulled a random, script from some individual that really didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
Because, what's the worst thing that you can do is just copy a random script from the internet and just run it in production.
So to that point, if I'm looking up something that I can't necessarily vet myself, one of the things that, or I can't trust that the AI is going to give me 100% accurate things, like that I can tell whether or not it is. Perplexity. I've really enjoyed using that because that's what it does.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you a whole host of links of here's where we got the information. You can click into it to kind of find stuff, and then go from there. Having that, I said it last year when we were talking about AI as well. Like Bing was kind of the thing at the time that would do that, as opposed to ChatGPT just kind of gave you an answer and you had to just take it for what it was. I do like the AI models and services that have the built-in trust but having the verification step built in.
Ian,
I'm going to go off the rails here. The deployment of 5G bandwidth across the nation. That was really, really big. Like, we kind of started the year where everybody's like, what's 5G? Like, my cell phone can use it now, but a lot of people could only use it in large cities. But as the year went on, and through now, it's basically nationwide, where everybody's got access to ultra fast, high speed internet, and it's big enough that the major providers are even have home internet solutions for it.
I would say I actually moved to, I won't say which one, but I did move to a home internet for that's 5G. And for my personal uses, it's fantastic.
Mhm.
Absolutely fantastic. All right. I think that was everybody. Let's see. The next one, the favorite device of the year. Matthew.
This is kind of a callback to our was it Christmas episode or Thanksgiving episode? We were talking about favorite things. But my Books Tab Ultra, it is a e-reader, e-ink tablet. It is a fantastic device. I use it every day. It runs Android. It has a stylus that I can use with it, so I can write stuff on it. It's a 10-inch tablet, so I can read PDFs at a regular size. I can annotate the PDFs. I can do all sorts of things like
That's
that.
not true. It's only a regular width.
Say that again.
It's only a regular width. Standard a standard sheet PDF is like an 8.5 by 11 inch. So you got the width. You don't have the height. You have to like zoom out to see the entire PDF page.
If I have it set to full page, I can still read it. Let's put it that way. The screen size is like a nice happy medium where it's not too big, but it's also not too small, if that makes sense. And then also it has a keyboard. I have a keyboard case for it, and I got it off of eBay, and it came with it. So I can do all sorts of typing and everything on there. I can run Emacs and SyncThing on it, which is fantastic. And yeah, that's my favorite device of this last year.
Cool. Steven.
The 2010 MacBook Pro, just dead reliable, never quits,
Emphasis on dead.
still rocking and rolling, just a little slow, a little long in the tooth. No,
Is that what you have sitting in front of you right now?
No, this is new hotness.
Yeah.
I
ended
mean,
with
I can't
Apple.
really. I didn't make any. I'm a gear guy of different sort of things, but I'm not a big device guy. My phone, because I've got I think it's a S24 Plus. I believe that's right. Because while I have a very nice desktop computer, I have a very nice laptop now.
Emphasis on now.
I've got it now. I've got my my virtual host little home labby setup and all that stuff, which is pretty decent and all that. I still, for general tasks of any sort, I will find myself going and doing a lot of it on my phone just out of habit,
Mhm.
and it's capable of doing that. And it's a camera. I
Yep.
have an older but not junk, Canon DSLR at home, and have enjoyed and would like to get back into enjoying some photography stuff. And it takes pretty decent pictures for what it is. This camera's better. I mean, just objectively speaking, on paper with resolution and things like that, and I can play with the pro mode, and it's sufficient for most of the things I want to do. Right, so yeah, I mean, I'd say my phone, because they are to that point now where it's a computer in your pocket, and it can do just about anything you want to do, like anything that you feel that you need to do outside of your phone. It's usually just because you need to do a few more things at a time, or you need to see an image bigger just to be productive, like just from a productivity standpoint, or you really and truly just need more horsepower like it needs more compute power. So you have to go to a desktop or a laptop, or obviously like intense gaming, AAA title type gaming. That's obviously something synonymous with desktop computers.
So, and what's to as part of that point, I forget which specs it are, but in certain workloads, the iPhone 16, which is the current iPhone, is parity with Apple's M1, which you can still buy, which is a desktop chip that is still sold,
Which
brand
is
new.
pretty impressive, considering that now correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, when the M1 dropped, I mean, it was lauded as having some pretty impressive performance, especially in the laptop platform, even compared to the current high end like Intel and AMD offerings at the time.
The Apple fanboys are only just now seriously discussing replacing their personal M1 rigs with M4s. It was that good.
Yeah. And, like, I'm considering replacing, like, our rig potentially that's a base M1 spec with an M4. Just mostly, do we need the horsepower? No. But it's a much newer machine, and it would, just potentially
This
benefit
gets
us a
into
little
a
bit
whole
more.
other conversation, but after all of your problems, do we need a Mac? I'm not, this is
No.
not me dogging on Mac. This is me asking a question for a specific circumstance. But do we really need a Mac?
Not at all.
Okay. Do you want a Mac to have a Mac? That's fine if the answer is yes.
John,
Does it
Yes.
really need to be the thing that we hook up to and you gripe about every time we sit down to this table?
Now that I have everything working, no, it's been great.
That's what we do with
you-
Teams.
You need to buy one of the new Microsoft little link things that Matt was talking
Absolutely
about. earlier.
not.
So I'm gonna guess, Ian, that the Link thing is not your favorite device of the year.
I only just learned about it on the drive over here, so but probably not. Probably not.
I imagine after Matthew's rant on it, you're probably halfway an expert now.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I
would
personally
like
have
to-
no use for it.
Matthew, let's try to keep a mental note of this. Some episode later this season, I would like to revisit that topic because I have a
Okay.
few counterpoints. Not to like blatantly disprove your point, but I would like to
There's
I'd like to
probably a
discuss it
use
further.
case for the business market, but that's
Yes.
not how it's being marketed.
see. Well, there's something we agree on. Microsoft. What do you
Yep.
expect?
Yep.
What do you? Yeah, that's they're doing Microsoft things.
All right,
My
Ian,
turn?
what- Yes.
I am also gonna go with my phone, but I'm going with my phone because it's a flip phone. It is one of the Samsung Flip 6s.
I was so tempted when I got my new phone. I was like,
Yeah. It's exciting because the 6th generation of the flips and folds seem to have finally taken a big step in the right direction from a durability and performance standpoint. Like I've had my phone for going on 6 months now, and I can still not charge it for 2 days after my normal usage, where any of my previous phones that I've ever had, I'm charging that thing every night, no matter what. So it's really efficient on the battery. It's not the most powerful thing out there by far, but it's still got a pretty dang good camera. And I can fold it up like a teepee and set it up, and I can see myself whenever I throw it over on the side and we need to go take a selfie. But it doesn't have to need the selfies don't have to look like selfies anymore.
yeah, no, that's a good point.
It is, as obviously someone who's seen it and played around with it a little bit in person, 100% agree. It's impressive, and I think it's a nice harkening back to when phones were fun.
Mhm.
And there was like actual innovation. There's actual uniqueness about them. For my personal use case, I don't, even if Apple were to have one, to make a flip phone, I probably wouldn't get one, just for my personal use case. They are amazing though, and
They're fun, and that's
yes.
that's the main reason
Yes.
I got it. That and the fact that some younger people may not understand this, but when you close it and it makes that solid
Mhm,
thunk,
mhm.
it's just
So
so
satisfying.
nostalgic and so satisfying.
So mine is a device I do not own, but it's a technology that I've been following really since it was first introduced, and I love it. And that is Amazon's Kindle Colorsoft and the other current gen of the color e-ink readers. It's not, in my opinion, it's not quite hit its stride yet, and it's got a ways to go, but it has come so much farther than it was even just a couple of years ago, and it's so much closer, and it will never be on par with like the top OLED or LED or any of those screens, but it's not supposed to be. You cannot compare e-ink to any sort of LCD, LED, whatever display because they're completely different use cases. Another device I'm going to give this an honorable mention is the Boox Palma, which is basically an e-ink iPod Touch.
Oh, okay.
And I very, very much want one. I can't quite justify it right now, but I very much want one of those because my issue I've always had with the e-ink readers, which I don't have one, is to me the refresh is too noticeable. Well, on the current gen, a lot of that has from what little I played around with, from live demos that I've seen, a lot of that's been fixed. And I think
especially on the book side of things, they've done a great job on their displays.
It's to the point where I can, what little is still there, I will just naturally just be able to ignore it after a little bit of usage. John, how about you?
Can mine be devices?
His favorite device of the year.
I'm going
Singular.
devices. I'm going with this entire audio rack over here.
There you go.
Fair point.
It has been so nice.
It made you happy.
Made me incredibly happy. Like this little stack of audio equipment.
By little, he means the 4-foot thing that is almost as tall as he is.
Half. Thank you very much. But it is super nice.
You're half as tall as the rack?
Shut up. No, the rack is half as tall as I am. Thank you very much. Anyway, no, it's just been so nice moving from an all-in-one solution and trying to force what my vision is for what we potentially can do into that little box versus now we can realistically expand or shrink as much as we want and have the versatility to kind of really evolve our own sound and how we want to produce not just this podcast but anything that we want, because it's no longer limited and we're not having to do any weird workarounds. We're not having to really sacrifice any of our potential to try and meet the physical all-in-one solution. And it's been kind of a nice weight off the shoulders essentially, because I'm no longer having to do all this research or having to figure out, well, what if this cable no longer works or whatever, or the device updates its firmware and the solution that we had for getting a 5th mic pumped in no longer is operational. I mean, we were screwed. And so this is just we can add so much more functionality to this, and we know it's a pretty much turnkey, just turn it on, hook it up to our software, and hit the go button, and you're done. It's great.
Agreed. It has been quite the journey, and we're on, I don't even know what version we're on at this point.
I think 6.
Yeah, probably
Ish.
something along those lines. But yeah, it sounds great. And anything that can help us in post is great. All right. So
Agreed.
this last section or the last category is a little bit redundant depending on how you interpreted category 1. But the second to last one, or maybe last one, depending on what you filled out, favorite software of the year.
I thought we did that.
No, we did best software of the year
/service
of the year.
Oh, this is favorite software.
This is favorite.
I think
Emacs.
a lot of what we said was the best was our favorite.
So if no one has anything for this, Matthew.
Emacs. It is the world's greatest text editor / operating system.
It is. Can you take bare metal hardware and deploy just Emacs?
I think so.
If you can take bare metal hardware and deploy Emacs, then I accept its reference as operating system.
You would still have to have the.
Is there an Emacs image?
A lot of the GNU stack, but you wouldn't have to have. You wouldn't have to have a desktop environment. If that's what
is
you're
this
asking.
a Linux thing?
No. If there's an Emacs image,
It's a cross-platform. It is a super old text editor. So if you can imagine like Notepad++, this was the thing before Notepad++ was even started.
it is not an operating
So it's
system.
software.
If it has an image that you can deploy to bare metal hardware, it is an operating
I'll
system.
look that up. We can do an episode on it.
So cool. Emacs, Steven.
I don't have strong feelings about any particular software to
Except for
say a
Teams.
favorite. I was gonna say do a haha and say Teams, but I've already done it. So
Ian, got anything?
I'm kind of with Steven. I haven't really used anything
Tableau,
this year
obviously, you felt very
I
strongly
haven't
about
really
that
used
earlier.
anything this year that's just blown my socks off. To be favorite software. We've already talked about the best, but I can't say any one thing has stood out as favorite.
So the logic behind my best software, which was Grok, was it was released, it was released close to 2024, but I used it in 2024, and that was that was what got me into actually paying attention to AI.
And
My
Grok 1 is free now, by the way.
my favorite is Obsidian. That's where I have that's my personal database. And it's not a database in the sysadmin sense of the word. It's where I have a lot of personal documentation, not secure documentation, but a lot of um, random notes and such that I have tied together. And I think Obsidian does a really good job um, with helping you link things together very, very easily. So that's my favorite. John, did you have anything?
Well, I could bring back an oldie but a goodie and say TrueNAS, but in reality, if I have to pick one that has to be my favorite, and the one that has taught me the most this year is going to be, back to our audio solution is going to be Reaper. Reaper
Mhm.
kind of reignited an old love that I came from when I originally was kind of trained in some of this in the live world, and I didn't get to really play around as much with these recording solutions on the software side for a very long time, and this was kind of that nice nostalgic feel and a new challenge to try and conquer. So no, it's that has been the one I've probably spent the most time in over 2024.
You know what?
Sweet.
I'll rescind what I said. LM Studio. I've really enjoyed using LM Studio. It's a solution or to help ease the pain of running a local AI.
Okay.
It is
Nice.
a fantastic piece of software for sure. Like it makes it very easy to just download models from Hugging Face, to run them locally, to set different parameters and everything like that. It's got a great GUI, so if you don't want to deal with like running OLAM on the command line or something like that,
Yeah, Hugging Face
LM
is great, but like
LM Studio makes it just very, very accessible, I think is the
Mhm.
word for it.
Yeah, you're right. The only thing that it doesn't do is that you can't run something like a image generator. It's only a text generator.
correct.
Okay.
But yeah, again, if you don't want to run your AI command line like me, use that guy. Especially if you're wanting to kind of deploy your own little chatbot in your home lab, just run it. It's very easy to set up.
All right. That was the last of the named categories. And so I think we're done for the year.
For the year.
Oh, that's
Yep,
it.
that's it. Oh, okay.
Well,
all right.
Thank you for joining us on the Hostility Morning Podcast. No, in all seriousness, thank you. We were able to get past, what was season 1, kind of the more learning experience, and we're hoping that we can kind of start season 2 off here on a bit of a high and kind of build from that infrastructure. Even we started with an 8U rack. Let's get to a 48U rack.
Oh, wow.
Anyways, thank you for joining us. If you stayed this long and like what you heard, leave a comment and let us know. You can also hit us up on X, formerly known as the platform Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or info@hostilityinthemorning.com. We upload every Tuesday real early on Substack, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube. If you want a one-stop shop for everything hostile, you can find everything at hostilityinthemorning.com. And remember, have a hostile morning.